Welcome to another spine-chilling episode of Fear Files. Tonight, we plunge into the abyss of terror with three haunting tales that defy comprehension. From the eerie silence of a cursed town where any noise invites doom, to the ghostly apparitions on a cargo ship trapped in a haunted trench, and the vengeful sirens that lure sailors to their doom, these stories promise to grip you with fear and leave you questioning the shadows lurking in the dark. Prepare yourself for a journey into the unknown, where silence, madness, and spectral voices await. Buckle up. Your deepest fears are about to come to life.
The Mariner's Grace cut through the fog-shrouded waters with a steady, if not slightly weary, rhythm. Captain Jonah Reynolds, his hands calloused from years of steering through the world's most unforgiving seas, stood at the helm, gazing into the endless mist. The fog had settled in thicker than usual, wrapping around the ship like a ghostly shroud. The cargo ship had been navigating these treacherous waters for days, but nothing had prepared Jonah or his crew for the eerie melodies that began to drift through the fog one night. At first, it was just a faint hum, almost like the distant echo of a forgotten sea shanty. But as the fog grew denser and the sun dipped below the horizon, the melodies became more distinct, hauntingly beautiful, and unmistakably seductive. Jonah frowned as the music grew louder, its eerie beauty seeping through the walls of the ship. His first mate, Ben Harper, approached, his face pale with unease. "Captain, are you hearing this? It's getting louder." Jonah nodded, his brow furrowed. "I hear it, Ben. And it's not just the fog playing tricks. We need to stay alert." The crew, initially captivated by the enchanting tunes, found themselves drawn to the ship's railings, peering into the fog as if they could catch a glimpse of the source. Jonah's attempts to steer the ship clear of the sound proved futile, as the melodies seemed to guide them off course. As night fell, the fog thickened, and the ghostly shapes of the albatross emerged from the mists. Its once grand silhouette was now a decaying shell, with tattered sails and a broken mast. The ship's eerie appearance sent a shiver down Jonah's spine. He ordered the crew to prepare for possible trouble, though none could have anticipated what lay ahead. As they drew closer, Jonah's heart pounded. The sirens' music was now a cacophony of seductive whispers, each note more compelling than the last. The figures began to take shape in the fog, ghostly apparitions with hollow eyes and elongated limbs, their movements synchronized and otherworldly. They drifted silently, their presence both mesmerizing and terrifying. Jonah gathered his crew in the main cabin. "Listen up. We've got to stay focused. Whatever's out there, it's trying to lead us into a trap. We need to keep quiet and steer clear." But the crew was entranced, their fear and fascination warring within them. One by one, they began to succumb to the siren's call, stepping out onto the deck, their faces blank and eyes glazed. Jonah's orders became increasingly desperate as he tried to pull them back from the edge of the ship. The sirens grew bolder, their whispers turning into chilling wails that resonated through the night. Jonah could see the fear in his crew's eyes as they realized the true danger of the situation. The sirens were not just haunting melodies, they were vengeful spirits bound to lure sailors to their doom. Jonah, determined to save his crew, sought out the ship's old logbooks and navigational charts. In the dim light of the cabin, he uncovered a long-forgotten account of the albatross and its doomed voyage. The entries spoke of a curse, a pact made with malevolent spirits that demanded souls in exchange for safe passage through the foggy waters. Armed with this knowledge, Jonah concocted a plan to break the curse. He instructed the crew to cover their ears and focus on their duties, using the ship's foghorn to drown out the sirens' music. It was a desperate move, but it was their only hope. As the crew braced themselves for the confrontation, Jonah faced the sirens alone, standing at the edge of the deck as the fog rolled around him like a living entity. The sirens' leader, Seraphina, emerged from the mist, her spectral form more imposing than ever. Her eyes filled with sorrow and anger, fixed on Jonah. "You cannot escape," she intoned, her voice a haunting melody. "You will join us in our eternal silence." Jonah's resolve hardened. "I will not let you claim any more lives. We're breaking this curse tonight." With a determined cry, Jonah directed the ship's foghorn to blast through the mist, its piercing sound cutting through the sirens' whispers. The spectral figures recoiled, their forms wavering as the sound disrupted their cursed melody. Jonah continued to blast the horn, pushing back against the encroaching figures. As the fog began to clear and dawn approached, the sirens' wails faded into the distance. The mariner's grace emerged from the fog, the ghostly shipwreck now a mere shadow on the horizon. The crew, though shaken, was safe. Jonah looked back at the receding mist, a sense of relief washing over him. The curse had been lifted, but the haunting melodies of the sirens would forever echo in his memory, a reminder of the dangers that lurk in the unknown and the cost of succumbing to temptation. As the sun rose over the horizon, the crew of the Mariner's Grace continued their journey, their spirits bolstered by the knowledge that they had faced the darkness and survived. The cargo ship, Elysian Spirit, crept out of the harbor under the shroud of dawn, its hull slicing through the restless waves of the North Atlantic. Captain Elias Hart stood at the helm, a man of weathered resolve. His ship, an old but reliable vessel, had seen many voyages, but this one felt different. The crew, a mix of seasoned sailors and greenhorns, bustled about, securing cargo and preparing for the journey ahead. The sun dipped below the horizon as Elias took a final glance at the mainland, a wisp of unease curling in his gut. It was an old superstition, but he couldn't shake the feeling that the voyage would be marked by something sinister. The cargo was unremarkable: barrels of grain, crates of textiles, and a few delicate antiques. But Elias couldn't shake the feeling that something more than mere goods was aboard. The first sign of trouble came on the third night. A storm had rolled in, its winds howling and waves crashing against the hull with violent ferocity. Elias was in his quarters when he heard it, a faint, eerie melody drifting through the corridors. At first, he dismissed it as the wind playing tricks, but as he ventured out, the melody grew clearer, more haunting. The crew, too, was unnerved. Crewman Smith claimed he saw shadowy figures moving in the distance, their movements synchronized as if part of a ghostly ballet. The sighting was dismissed as fatigue and stress, but Elias couldn't ignore the growing sense of dread. The nights grew longer and the storms more frequent. Phantom footsteps echoed through empty corridors, and ghostly apparitions of long-dead sailors appeared on deck during particularly stormy nights. These sightings were brief, fleeting, but always left a cold, chilling presence in their wake. As the days passed, the crew's nerves frayed. Whispers of mutiny and tales of drowned souls began circulating among them, each story adding to the mounting tension. Elias, plagued by vivid nightmares of spectral figures clawing at portholes, tried to maintain order, but found his authority increasingly questioned. One evening, as the ship rocked with the swell of another storm, Elias stumbled upon a hidden compartment in the hold. Inside, he found a collection of old journals and logbooks. Dust-covered and brittle, they told a dark tale of mutiny and betrayal. The Elysian Spirit had once been a vessel of vengeance, its crew lost to a deadly uprising that ended in violence and murder. The journals revealed that the ship was cursed, bound to sail eternally with the souls of those who had perished in the mutiny. The vengeful spirits sought to claim new souls to join their cursed ranks. The ghostly manifestations grew bolder. Crew members began disappearing one by one. The remaining crew was plagued by nightmares and hallucinations. The ship seemed to be alive, with walls that groaned and portholes that revealed nightmarish scenes of watery depths and shadowy figures. One night, the storm reached its peak. The ship was tossed about like a toy in the turbulent sea. The crew, now thoroughly terrified, huddled in the galley, attempting to drown out the haunting melodies with their own shouts and cries. But the music grew louder, more insistent, and Elias knew the time had come to confront the evil. In a desperate attempt to save what remained of his crew, Elias followed the melody to its source. He found himself on the deck, where the spectral figures had begun to materialize more clearly. The vengeful spirits with hollow eyes and tattered uniforms moved with a slow, deliberate menace. As Elias approached the ghostly figures, they turned towards him, their faces devoid of emotion but full of an eerie, chilling presence. The spirits began to chant, their voices rising in a chorus of despair and anger. Elias, summoning every ounce of courage, addressed the spirits. "What do you want from us? Why are you tormenting us?" The leader of the spirits, a ghostly captain with a face twisted in eternal rage, floated closer. "We seek redemption for our souls," the spirit intoned, "and you are bound to join us unless you free us from our eternal prison." With the storm reaching its zenith, Elias devised a plan. He knew that breaking the curse would require a sacrifice, an offering to appease the vengeful spirits and end their torment. The crew gathered what items they could find that had historical significance to the ship's tragic past, hoping to create a symbolic gesture of atonement. As Elias made the offering, the storm began to subside. The spirits, their anger momentarily abated, watched with a semblance of hope. Elias recited a prayer from one of the journals, a ritual meant to grant peace to the restless souls. The spirits seemed to be calmed, their forms dissipating into the night. The haunting melodies faded, replaced by the normal sounds of the sea. The remaining crew, exhausted and shaken, managed to navigate the ship back to safer waters. The Elysian spirit returned to port, its crew forever marked by the ordeal. The ship, though damaged, had survived the cursed voyage. Elias Hart, now a changed man, vowed never to return to those haunted waters. The ship's logs and the journals were locked away, their tales of terror left to history. The Elysian spirit was repaired and sold, but its reputation lingered, a ghostly reminder of the horrors that had once plagued its voyage. The crew members who survived went their separate ways, each haunted by their own memories of the phantom voyage and the ghostly figures that had nearly claimed their lives. The ship's legacy became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dark forces that lurk beyond the safety of familiar shores, waiting for the chance to ensnare those who dare to traverse the haunted waters. The siren's lament cut through the serene waters of the Pacific, its hull slicing through the gentle waves. Captain Rachel Turner stood at the bridge, her eyes scanning the horizon. The cargo ship was on a routine delivery, its cargo hold filled with goods destined for distant ports. The sun was setting, casting an orange glow across the tranquil sea, but a growing unease began to settle over the crew. "Captain, we're approaching the abyssal trench," the first mate, Jake, reported. His voice held a trace of tension, though he tried to mask it. Turner nodded, acknowledging the report. "Keep a sharp lookout. We've heard the rumors about this place. Let's not get complacent." As darkness descended, the ship entered the shadowy waters of the trench. The atmosphere shifted subtly, the air growing colder and the waves less predictable. The crew went about their duties, trying to ignore the growing sense of unease. The first sign of trouble came during the night shift. Crew members reported strange noises echoing through the empty corridors, phantom footsteps that seemed to follow them wherever they went. At first, they dismissed these sounds as mere figments of their imagination, but the unease grew with each passing hour. In the ship's galley, the cook, Mark, stood frozen, staring at the wall. "Did anyone else hear that?" he asked, his voice trembling. "What are you talking about?" Jake asked, looking up from his paperwork. "It was like someone walking right behind me, but when I turned around, there was no one there," Mark replied. As the night wore on, the sightings of ghostly apparitions became more frequent. Crew members reported glimpses of shadowy figures moving on deck during stormy nights, their forms flickering in and out of view. The tension among the crew began to rise and paranoia set in. The ship's navigation equipment began to malfunction, displaying erratic readings and causing confusion among the crew. The compass spun wildly, and the GPS failed to provide accurate coordinates. As Captain Turner examined the instruments, she felt a chilling breeze brush against her face. "What's causing this?" Turner muttered to herself, her concern deepening. A sudden storm rolled in, its fury matched only by the growing unease aboard the ship. The crew fought to maintain control as the winds howled and the waves crashed against the hull. Amid the chaos, Turner saw a shadowy figure on the deck, its translucent form barely visible against the storm's fury. "Jake, get a crew together and check out the deck," Turner shouted, her voice barely audible over the storm. As Jake and a few crew members ventured outside, they encountered the wraiths, spectral figures with hollow eyes that glowed in the dark. The wraiths moved with an unnatural grace, their movements synchronized and eerie. As the days passed, the crew experienced increasingly disturbing phenomena. Cold spots appeared throughout the ship, and the whispers of the wraiths grew louder. The eerie melodies that drifted through the air seemed to lure the crew members towards the edge of sanity. In the ship's mess hall, the crew gathered for a brief respite from their duties. The haunting melodies were more pronounced, filling the space with an unsettling atmosphere. "Does anyone else hear that music?" asked Sarah, the ship's engineer. Her face was pale, and her hands trembled. "I've been hearing it too," Jake admitted. "It's coming from somewhere deep in the trench." Turner examined old sailors' tales and logs, discovering disturbing accounts of previous voyages that had encountered similar phenomena. The logs spoke of vengeful sea spirits and ancient curses tied to the trench's depths. The crew's mental state began to deteriorate as the wraiths grew bolder. Hallucinations plagued them, visions of drowned sailors clawing at portholes and shadowy figures whispering in their ears. The ship's once-ordered environment became a battleground of fear and paranoia. In the crew's quarters, Turner confronted the crew about their experiences. "We need to stay focused. We're dealing with something beyond our understanding, and we have to work together to survive." The crew's fear was palpable, and dissent began to grow. Some members questioned the ship's course, convinced that the trench's curse was inescapable. Turner struggled to maintain order as the ship continued to drift deeper into the abyss. As the ship became ensnared in the supernatural current, Turner and the remaining crew uncovered the truth behind the trench's curse. They discovered an ancient gateway deep within the trench, a portal to a realm inhabited by the vengeful sea spirits. The spirits had been trapped in the trench for centuries, their rage and madness fueling their desire for revenge. The crew learned that any attempt to make noise or escape the trench would draw the spirits' attention and seal their fate. In a desperate bid to break the curse, Turner and her crew attempted to communicate with the spirits, seeking a way to appease their anger and escape the trench's grip. The climax of the story arrives as the spirits become increasingly aggressive. The crew must confront their worst fears as the wraiths launch a final, desperate assault. The ship is plunged into chaos as the spirit's influence drives the crew members to the brink of madness. Turner, with a determined resolve, leads the remaining crew in a fight against the spirits. They use the knowledge they've gained about the trench's curse to create a plan to escape the wraith's clutches. The battle is intense, with the crew facing both physical and psychological horrors as they struggled to break free. In the aftermath of the confrontation, the surviving crew members managed to escape the trench's grip. The sirens' lament emerges from the abyss, battered but intact. The spirit's influence fades as the ship leaves the cursed waters behind. Captain Turner, now forever changed by her experience, reflects on the harrowing journey. The trench remains a haunting memory, a reminder of the fragility of human sanity when confronted with forces beyond comprehension. As the ship sails away from the abyss, Turner and her crew know that the trench's curse is not easily forgotten. The horrors they faced will linger in their minds, a constant reminder of the dark depths that lie beneath the surface of the world.
Thank you for joining us on this harrowing journey through the darkest corners of fear. We hope these chilling tales have left you on the edge of your seat, and that the echoes of the abyss will linger long after you've turned off the lights. If you enjoyed these spine-tingling stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a moment of Fear Files. Share your thoughts and your own chilling experiences in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, remember, some horrors are best left undiscovered. Stay safe and keep the lights on.